We're here on an initial permanency hearing. Ms. Gutierrez is with us for the department. Casa is with us, and Mr. Ingram is with us representing the child. Mr. Taylor is just now joining us. He represents the mother, Ms. Campbell, who is with us. Ms. Kincaid is with us representing the father, Mr. Sloss, who is with us. That accounts for all the parties. I have Erica Flores in the waiting room.
That's my caseworker on this one, Your Honor. She could be let in. Did you prepare a court report filed on, let me see here, March 6th of 2024?
Yes.
Your Honor, we ask that the court take judicial notice of that court report.
All right, so noted, and I have read the report.
Thank you, Your Honor. Now, Erica, in that court report, you indicated that the children would be placed with their father soon. Has that occurred yet?
Yes, ma'am, it did. It occurred last Thursday.
Okay, great. Can you tell us why the department made that decision?
So whenever Dustin found out that his children were in a care, he asked what it was that he could do to gain his, to have his children, because his children were separated. We had two children in a group home and then another one at an RTC, and he obviously did not like that. As a parent, I understand. So he made moves. He got a new place for his children. Raylin has her own room. She has her bedding. It is furnished, and the two other boys, they have a room and they share bunk beds. So as soon as Dustin, heard that his children were in a care, he made moves. He ended up getting them a house and furnishing their bedrooms and stuff like that. So it was super. They were really excited. They were super excited. So
that is amazing. Thank you for that explanation. Now, in regards to their medical care, are any of the children in therapy?
Yes, they're in individual therapy. Each one is. The oldest, he is seeing a psychiatrist, and I went over this with Dustin, that this is stuff that whenever they moved over there, and him and his fiance Tavia are taking some time off this week to make sure that they get all that situated out.
Okay, so Mr. Sloss understands that the children will need to continue receiving some services through the department. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
You prepared to follow through with those medical appointments?
Yes.
Has he, is spring break over yet for that school district?
Yes, ma'am, it is. So sorry.
Are the children now enrolled in school?
Yes, they will be enrolling this morning. Dustin wanted to be a part of the enrolling process. So right after court is done, they will be enrolling the children.
Fantastic. As far as dental exams, are the children up to date?
Yes, ma'am.
And as far as medical exams, are the children up to date?
Yes, ma'am.
And is Jackson on psychotropic medication?
Yes.
And are those correct in the court report?
Yes.
Your Honor, we ask that the court take judicial notice of that medication list on page 9 of the court report.
All right, so noted.
And will he have those medications reviewed now that he's placed with Dad at least every 30 days by a psychiatrist?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great. Now Jackson is 11. Has he expressed any opinion on those medications?
No, he says that he doesn't have any issues with them. So.
Okay. And Mr. Sloss, though he initially tested positive at the beginning of the case, has been testing negative consistently for several months. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. And I did send him last week, but I couldn't e-file it with the court because it was still pending. I did receive that this morning and have since e-filed it, and it was negative, and that was on the 12th.
And is it correct that Mr. Sloss's fiance also resides in the home?
Yes, ma'am.
And is she agreeable to following all the requirements of the court and of the department?
Yes.
And has she likewise tested negative on a hair follicle and urinalysis drug screens?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great. Let's see. How are visits for Miss Sloss going with the children?
They're doing really good. I'm sorry, did you say with Dustin or with
the mom? Miss Campbell, I apologize.
Oh, Miss Campbell. Yes, she did have her visits that week with the children. She did see Jackson face to face before he left because he was in Levelland. So she was able to see him. Me and Mr. Sloss and Stephanie will discuss this week how they're going to do visitations. I just wanted them to have a little bit of one-on-one time with the kids since he had just got them.
Okay. And with the children are they in East Texas now?
Yes.
Okay. Is mom planning to travel to see them in person, or do you think visitation will continue virtually?
Right now it's going to continue virtually, and we have discussed possible face-to-face. We're just gonna have to, figure out how Stephanie will be able to, at least meet halfway, or if she's gonna go all the way to
Okay.
meet the children.
Now, in your court report, you mentioned that dad was trying to work services, but there were some, I guess, logistical obstacles to that. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. We had he is currently getting his individual counseling, and he only has 2 more sessions, but we did have a very hard time contracting with the provider there. But they ended up seeing him, and they are contracted now, so that's good. He's completed all of his services except for 2 sessions for counseling and the parenting classes, and that's due to his work schedule. So he works some months he works day shifts, some days he works night shifts, but I have sent him a link to do those virtually.
Okay. Now, as far as Ms. Campbell's progress on services, how is she progressing on services?
She has completed her RBT, her TPC assessment. She has completed her psychological. She did complete that of November 9th of last year, but she has not gone back to do the individual counseling. Let me see. And the psychological did recommend her to life classes. She hasn't started her 12-step program. Parenting classes have not yet started, and daily recovery services has started on February 28th. And she is going twice a week from 6 to 8, I believe. And she has completed her OSAR.
Okay. Now, let's go back to that recommended service of the life skills class. Can you tell us what that is?
That's a class to help with like financial stability, like day-to-day life, like how to pay bills and stuff like that. It's
Okay.
just to give her that extra support.
And are we asking the court to order that she successfully complete that life skills class?
Yes, ma'am.
And you mentioned that daily recovery service was started. Was that also a recommended service?
Yes, ma'am, from OSAR.
Okay. And the OSAR was a substance abuse assessment. Is that correct?
Yes.
And are we asking also that that intensive outpatient substance abuse program be ordered for Ms. Campbell?
Yes.
Okay. Is Ms. Campbell complying with requests to drug screen?
I sent her on February 14th. She did do a urine, but she refused to do a hair follicle. It's noted on there that she refused because she was not told about a hair follicle. And then I did send her last week on the 12th as well, and she did not go.
And when you sent her on the 12th of March, was that for a hair follicle and a UA?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Has Ms. Campbell made any admissions of recent drug use?
No, ma'am.
Okay. In regards to her services, what extra steps have you taken to help Ms. Campbell complete her services?
I have been seeing her monthly. She did have a parent support worker for the first 90 days that would see her weekly. I have in her family plan, I have highlighted the services that she still needed to take and would mark out the ones that she no longer needed. I have also written out on a notebook paper just the services with the provider's name along with the number, just to make it easier, just so she could see what exactly it was on a notepad. Um, and those are the extra things that we have done for her.
Okay. Are we asking the court to order a hair follicle and urinalysis drug screen for Ms. Campbell today?
Yes.
Are we asking for any drug screens for Mr. Sloss?
No, ma'am. He drug tested, so he's good.
Pass the witness.
All right, thank you. Ms. Flores, where does Mr. Schloss live? What city or town?
It is called Arkansas. It is like, yeah, I think it's like 9 hours from here.
Can somebody spell that for me?
I
Might
know.
have to be, okay, Mr. Schloss might
It
have to spell
is
it.
It's kind of Dustin. Do you mind spelling Arkansas for Judge Graham? Hold
You're
on.
muted. Mr. Sloss, you're muted.
Judge, I show the address as Aransas Pass.
Can you hear me?
Okay, yeah, it's Aransas Pass.
Oh, there
okay,
you go. I'm sorry.
okay.
I was pronouncing it wrong. I'm sorry.
Okay.
See,
Yeah.
I don't even know. I probably would have spelled it wrong.
I know how to spell that. So, okay, we're good to go.
Yes,
All right,
sir.
Mr. Taylor, any questions? You're muted, Mr. Taylor.
I apologize for that, Your Honor. Just a couple, Your Honor. Has Stephanie, Ms. Sloss, expressed to you concerns about difficulties she's had in the past communicating with Mr. Sloss?
She has, but she's had Dustin's phone number. I know that Dustin explained that he doesn't really communicate with Stephanie, that he would communicate through Laura, which is Stephanie's mother. And so that's really how much they would communicate.
So for about the last 9 years, there's been very little contact there between the two of them. Is that?
No, I mean, they've been in communication with each other, but mostly Dustin tries to go through Laura, for the children.
So you don't anticipate that's going to be a real difficulty or an issue?
No, sir. No, I do not believe that it's going to be an issue at all. Dustin and his fiance understand that that virtual visits or possibly face-to-face will need to occur with the children.
Thank you. I'll pass the witness, John.
All right, Ms. Kincaid.
Thank you, Your Honor. So Mr. Sloss has done basically everything that's been required of him in the service plan other than those last two classes?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you. I'll pass witness.
All right, thank you. Mr. Ingram.
Sorry, Judge, I couldn't get unmuted. I have no questions.
All right. All right, anything further from anyone for Ms. Flores?
No, Your Honor.
All right, anything else from the department?
No, Your Honor, the department rests. I do have a few requests. We do request that the court order Ms. Campbell to drug screen by hair follicle and urinalysis today. We also ask that her recommended services for the life skills class, as well as the intensive outpatient substance abuse program with daily recovery services be ordered. We also ask for a finding of reasonable efforts of working one-on-one with Ms. Campbell to complete services. Continuing visitation for Ms. Campbell, and as well as placing the children back at home with the father.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Taylor, any witnesses?
I would call Stephanie Campbell briefly. Yeah. Is there anything about Ms. Flores' testimony that you'd like to respond to specifically?
I don't know just yet.
Okay, do you anticipate that you will be able, when you're finally allowed to, travel to visit the children occasionally?
Yes.
Okay. Your mother going to help you out there?
Yes.
Okay. And understand you're having some difficulty with your sobriety from your addiction. Is that correct?
Some.
Okay. And I believe you indicated you'd been trying to find a job but having difficulty in that area as well?
Yes.
Okay. Is there anything else specifically that you want to address today?
No.
And I'll pass witness, Sean.
Ms. Gutierrez, questions?
Very briefly, Ms. Campbell, why did you not complete the hair follicle in February? The hair follicle drug screen?
Oh, well, I don't like cutting my hair. Last they cut it, it was bad. And my last drug screening, I did not make it because I was trying to gather everything I needed to take for my kiddos before they had left. Gathering things I needed, but I was just far out there too.
When was the last time you used drugs?
last year.
Ask the witness.
All right, Ms. Kincaid, questions?
No questions, Your Honor.
Mr. Ingram?
No questions.
Ms. Campbell, you answered to Mr. Taylor's question. You've had some problems with your drug addiction. What did you mean by that? You're muted.
I'm sorry. I have triggers wanting to, but I have things that I've learned in life skills is changing things, pretty much everything. But I think I'm doing just fine. There's wants, but
Okay. So, but
I'm okay.
in answer to one of your questions, you're telling this court that you haven't done drugs, illegal drugs, since 2023.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Anyone else have other questions for Ms. Campbell?
No, Your
All
Honor.
right. Then, Ms. Kincaid, any witnesses?
No, Your Honor, we rest.
Thank you. Mr. Ingram, recommendations?
Continue the department as temporary managing conservator, continue placement with the father. Children were happy, excited to be with dad. And of course, it hadn't been very long, but things are going well initially.
Okay. All right, then. And CASA, Ms. Dotsie, anything to add?
And nothing else really to add. Like everyone said, the kids were really excited to go and have their rooms and everything set up. So nothing else really to add.
Okay, thank you. All right, then I will continue the department's temporary managing conservator. I will continue the kids' current placements with their father. I'll order Ms. Campbell to successfully complete the life skills class and the daily recovery program. I'll order Ms. Campbell to both Harris Strand and UA by 4 p.m. today. I assume is she here? That would be at Care Express.
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right, thank you. I'm going to order then that her visits will be suspended until she provides the department with a negative Harris Strand and UA drug screen. All right, our next hearing will be on another permanency hearing on July 15th, 2024. That will be by Zoom like today's hearing, so parties and attorneys can go on the court's online docket a day or two in advance of July 15th to see exactly what time we'll have that
Anybody
hearing.
still there? I need to call Miss Erica. What does it mean, suspended?
Bill,
Okay. Yes, I'm here.
I don't know I don't know how you want to handle it, but Miss Campbell is asking questions.
Okay. Stephanie, I'll call you after I get through with this next hearing. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. All right. You can go ahead and sign off now, and I'll give you a call.
Hearing following an order to participate.
Okay.
Ms.
Okay,
Gutierrez
thanks.
is with us for the department. Mr. Ingram is with us representing the children. Mr. Naranjo is with us representing the father, Mr. Collin, who is not with us. Mr. Taylor is with us representing the mother, Ms. Hart, who is with us.
Thank you, Your Honor. The department calls Cherie Hughes as its witness. Thank you. We were last here in December for a compliance hearing. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you give us an update on how Stacy Hart is doing on her services since that last compliance hearing?
Since our last hearing, she has completed her domestic violence support groups. I was able to receive her sign-in sheet last week. She sent that to me. I have given her the parenting notebook, modules 1 through 6 so far. She was able to send me a video a couple of days ago where she completed 5 and 6. She's looking for 1 through 4. She has not located them, so I told her I could make her another copy of those if needed. She sent me an email this last week where she finally contacted a therapist through Family Support Services. So she has been assigned a therapist, but she has not had a session yet. And then as far as the drug screens, she did not hair follicle as court ordered back in December. She refused that hair follicle. She did UA. She UA'd again in January, but last month she did not UA for me. She said that she could not get off work. She has moved. I was able to see the home for the first time last week. She does have a full-time job. And that's as far as that's the information on Stacy.
And did she remain in the Amarillo area when she moved, or is she now out of town?
She is now out of town.
How many hours away is she?
1.
Okay. So just if you could give me a quick list of what she has not yet completed.
Her counseling, her parenting, and then her drug screens.
Okay. And are we asking the court to order her to hair follicle and UA drug screen again today?
Yes, please.
Okay. And in regards to Jonathan Cullen, how has he progressed on services since the last hearing?
I have had absolutely no contact with Jonathan since that December hearing. He did text with me that day of the hearing, following the hearing. He was very concerned about participating in that drug screen. And then all contact with him has ceased. He doesn't answer any text, any phone calls. I've asked if he would please go back to meeting me at the office, which is where we were meeting previously. No response at all.
Okay. Does that concern you with Mr. Cullen?
It does. Yes, I've checked the jail rosters, both Potter and Randall County, and I have not seen his name listed there. I did check to see if he was on probation or parole and was informed that he was no longer. So there's no contact with him at all.
Now, to your knowledge, has there been any contact between Stacy or Jonathan since the last hearing?
I did receive a police report from the Canyon Police Department. It was not called in by Stacy, but there was concerns that he was driving around her residence where she did live previously.
Okay. And would you agree Ms. Hart acted appropriately in moving?
Yes, I do.
Okay. However, did she disclose that this event had happened to you before you confronted her?
I did confront her about it, and she said she wasn't convinced that it was him, but it looked like him.
Do you believe that risk still remains for this family?
I do. Not knowing where he is and what's going on with him, I do.
Okay. And in regards to Ms. Hart, do you find it concerning that she has not complied with court-ordered drug screening?
I do.
Do you believe it is necessary for this order to participate to continue?
I do.
Pass the witness.
All right, thank you, Mr. Taylor.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. When you did finally see Ms. Hart's new residence last week, did you find it satisfactory?
Not yet. She still was basically all in boxes. The only thing that was set up was her bed. And so she said that she would be working on that all last week. And then I plan to return there this week to make sure that everything is up like it should be.
Was her attitude cooperative about it?
I'm sorry?
She was cooperative in her attitude about it?
Oh, yes, sir. Yes.
Okay. And did you visit with her about whether she has had any contact with Jonathan, knew where he was or anything?
I did ask her again. I usually ask her every time I meet with her if she's had any contact, and she stated that she has not.
So he's not been around, had visitation with the child or anything like that?
No, sir.
Okay. Thank you. Pass the witness, John.
All right, thank you, Ms. Naranjo.
Ms. Hughes, was the last time you had contact with Mr. Cullen around December?
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. It was actually on the day that our last hearing was. He texted with me on that day and was very concerned about going to take his drug screen. And then I haven't heard from him since.
And when was your last effort to contact him?
Let me look right quick. I know I texted him last week and tried calling him last week. And then I did check even the jail rosters as soon as this morning, trying to see if he was maybe there. Let's see. Yes, it was last week. I tried calling and texting him.
You said last week?
Yes, ma'am.
I'll pass the witness.
All right, Mr. Ingram.
No questions.
All right. Ms. Hughes, do you have concerns if he were to come around wanting to see the children? Do you have concerns for him to have visitation when he won't drug test and admits he was concerned about having to take a drug test?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Thank you. All right, Ms. Gutierrez, anything further from the department?
No, Your Honor, the department rests. We just ask that the order to participate continue for the parents.
All right, Ms. Hughes, do you want another compliance hearing down the road?
Yes, sir, please.
How far out would you like it?
Let's do 3 months.
Okay, I can do either May 13th or I can do June 6th. I'm sorry, June 10th.
Let me check my calendar, Your Honor. Both of those dates work for me, Your Honor.
Your Honor,
Yeah.
I would prefer May 13th. I have a CLE on the 6th.
Okay, okay. All right, give me just a second. Okay, then I will order that both parents continue to work the services as have been previously ordered. I'll order both parents to hair strand and UA drug screen by 4 p.m. today. I'll order that Mr. Collin have no visitation until further court order. And Mr. Taylor, if you would let you just talk with your client, let her know what that means, that she's not to allow him to have any contact with the children until we have another court order. So
I will do so, sir.
Okay. I will set the next compliance hearing for May 13th, 2024. It will be by Zoom, just like today's hearing, so parties and attorneys can go on the court's online docket a day or two in advance of May 13th.
That would be a horrible alarm to wake up to, because I couldn't wake up to that, sure.
We're here on a status hearing. Ms. Gutierrez is with us for the department. Mr. Ingram's with us representing the children. Mr. Taylor is with us representing the mother, Ms. Neal. Mr. Freeman, the father, is with us. His attorney, Mr. Barfield, is not with us. However, I've got Joel Jackson just came into the waiting room. He might be covering.
Okay.
Let me get him in and see. Okay, all right. For the record, then, Joel Jackson is with us covering for Mr. Barfield, representing the father, Mr. Freeman. Mr. Jackson, we've got a little bit of time, not a lot. Do you need a breakout room with Mr. Freeman?
If I could briefly, yes, sir.
Sure. Okay. I'll open a breakout room, Mr. Freeman, for you and Mr. Jackson, who's covering for your lawyer. You may be asked to join that breakout room, or it might put you in there automatically. Let me get those set up first.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Your Honor. The department calls Tamara Martinez as its witness. Did you prepare a court report for this case and file it on March 6th of 2024?
Yes.
Your Honor, we ask that the court take judicial notice of that court report.
All right, so noted.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Martinez, you indicated that Jackson and Hazel are at the same initial placement. Is that with relatives?
Yes, it is.
Can we get some details on how they are doing there?
They seem to be adjusting really well. They're both very happy there. When I saw them, they kept asking me to go play hide and go seek. They're doing well in school. Hazel, I believe, is making all A's and B's. Jackson, there was some concerns that he might have dyslexia. They did some testing. I haven't got the results for the testing yet, but I know that he's receiving services to help him with his schoolwork.
Okay. Are the children up to date on medical and dental exams?
Yes, they are.
And for therapy or psychological, your court report indicates that that's pending. Can you please clarify what you mean by that?
We'll get them set up for those services.
Okay, so y'all are in the process of setting those up?
Yes.
Okay, now as far as visitation, how is visitation, or what visitation is occurring right now?
Right now they have visits virtually with their mother. Those visits go okay. I know the kids were a little upset a couple weeks ago because mom showed up on the virtual call with a black eye. In regards to Richard, he was released on Wednesday. He had a visit Wednesday with the children. The worker reports that that visit went really, really well. And his visits will be weekly for 1 hour in person.
Now, are Miss Kayla's visitation, are those virtual due to her use of fentanyl?
Yes.
Okay. And to go back just a little bit, and Jackson was positive at one point for fentanyl as well, correct?
That is my understanding.
So does the department feel it's necessary for a parent using fentanyl for those visits to remain virtual for the safety of the children?
Yes.
Thank you. Do you have any updates on Richard?
Richard completed Synacor rehab. He was released Wednesday. He's already got a job. And he seems to be starting off on the right foot.
And are there any updates on Kayla?
I met with Kayla on Thursday. I went over her family plan of service with her. provided a copy of that to her, which I will get filed with the courts. She understood the services that she needed to work. She said that she was going to go to Colorado to get better on her own. I was informed this morning that she went to Oklahoma to stay at her sister's house to work on getting sober.
Okay, and is her sister's home out of state as well?
Yes, ma'am. It is in Oklahoma.
Okay. Was there anything that stood out to you on your meeting with her that Thursday?
She appeared to have been using. We met outside in the cold. The door was open to the house, and there was a bong, I guess, sitting on the table, her coffee table. So there was concerns that she was still using. She did admit to using a week ago.
What drug did she admit to using a week ago?
Methamphetamines.
Now, you mentioned going over her service plan and her signing. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And will you be filing that signed service plan today?
Yes, ma'am.
Great. Let's go ahead and talk about the service plans now. Did you create service plans for both parents?
Yes, I did.
And are they reasonably tailored to address the issues in the case?
Yes.
And are the main issues in the case substance abuse and child neglect?
Yes.
And are these service plans the department's reasonable efforts to reunify the children with the family?
Yes.
And as well, are they uniquely tailored for each parent?
Yes.
Can you name one or two services that is uniquely tailored for Kayla Neal?
I mean, we're asking her to get housing, do random drug screens, get drug treatment.
Get a car, get counseling, get a psych eval. There's a lot more than that.
Excuse me. I'm going to mute you, Miss Neal. You're interrupting our proceeding.
Now, Tamara, going back to the service plan, you mentioned drug treatment and drug screens. Is there a specific type of treatment that is included in her service plan, or are we asking her to do the substance abuse assessment and then taking it from there?
We're asking her to do the OSAR evaluation and then seeing what they recommend.
Okay. And that OSAR evaluation, that is a substance abuse assessment, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And specifically, or rather uniquely tailored for Richard Freeman, can you give us 2 or 3 services that are uniquely tailored for Mr. Freeman?
For Mr. Freeman, we're asking that he do a parenting class. This wasn't in his original family plan, but I believe we're also going to ask to add a life skills class for him. And then, of course, if he has a negative, we're asking him to do drug screens. And if he has a negative, or if he has a positive drug screen, we will ask that he complete an OSAR evaluation.
Now, in regards to that life skills class, is it a reading life skills class?
I believe, yes, ma'am.
Okay. And is it called Learning Express?
Yes, ma'am.
And is that done through the public libraries of the city of Amarillo?
Yes, ma'am.
And with that service, are we trying to help Mr. Freeman set up to be able to take care of the children long-term once they are back with him?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, did Kayla review that service plan?
Yes, ma'am. I went over it with her.
And did she sign it?
Yes, ma'am.
And has Mr. Freeman had an opportunity to review that service plan?
I emailed it to him on Friday. I am scheduled to meet with him tomorrow morning at 9:30 to go over it with him.
Okay. But to your knowledge, he has not yet reviewed it or signed it. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Are we asking the court to order any drug screens for Kayla Neal today?
Yes.
Is that by your analysis and hair follicle?
Yes.
Are we asking for Mr. Freeman to be ordered to do any drug screens today?
Yes.
What type of drug screens would those be?
Hold on. We'll do the UA and the hair strand.
I just cut my hair.
In addition to those drug screens, are we also requesting that the court make the service plans in order of the court?
Yes, ma'am.
And are we also asking for that Learning Express course to be added?
Yes.
Pass the witness.
Mr. Taylor?
I have no questions of the witness, Your Honor.
Mr. Jackson?
Ma'am, after Richard had graduated from Centacor, he got in contact with you or the department fairly quick, didn't he?
Yes, sir.
And you indicated that you all were going to meet with him tomorrow to go to review a service plan.
Yes, sir.
And did he appear to you from the whatever visits that you've had with him that he's willing, ready, and able to get busy and get these services worked?
Yes.
Do you know, can you tell me from your records whether, have you all, has he submitted to a hair follicle in this case to date?
Sorry, I didn't quite hear all of that.
Has Richard Freeman submitted to a hair follicle for the department in this case?
I'm assuming so, but I honestly couldn't tell you because I've just recently got this case.
I did once.
Okay. Yeah, both parents, please don't interrupt. Your lawyers will get around to asking you the proper questions.
Okay, I'll be calling him to do that. And ma'am, if Richard can get in there and get a hair follicle done and it's a negative, would you or the department be opposed to him having 2-hour visits with his kiddos?
I don't think that we would be opposed to that.
Okay. All right, and you said that the visits were going really, really well, right?
Yes, sir. He's only had one thus far.
Okay. All right, and I'll pass the witness.
Mr. Ingram?
No questions.
All right. Ms. Martinez, would it be a continuing danger to the physical health and safety of the children to be returned to either parent today?
Yes, sir.
Would it be contrary to the welfare of the children to be returned to either parent today?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. All right, anyone else have any further questions for Ms. Martinez?
No.
Okay. Ms. Gutierrez, anything further from the department?
Yes, Your Honor. I'm asking the court to take judicial notice of a filed drug screen result. It was filed on January 29th, 2024, and it is Richard Freeman's hair follicle drug screen from January 9th of 2024.
All right, I don't have that with me. Can you tell me what the results were?
It was positive, Your Honor. I was doing it more for Mr. Jackson's convenience. But okay. I believe it was positive for cocaine, fentanyl, norfentanyl, and marijuana.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I will take note of that result. All right, then, Mr. Taylor, do you have any written witnesses?
Yes, I'd like to call my client, Kayla Neal Young.
Okay.
Kayla, this is the appropriate time for you to respond to anything specific that was stated during Ms. Martinez's testimony. Was there something you wanted to address specifically?
No, it is fine.
Okay. You did meet with her and go over all of the service plans, is that correct?
Yes, I did.
And you understood it all?
Yes, I did.
And agreed to it and signed it, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you understood the judge ordered you to drug test today?
Yes, and I do have a question on that. I am in Oklahoma City at the moment trying to get better, like trying to get sober and do what I need to do. So is there somewhere I can go here in Oklahoma City, go to take the drug test?
Ms. Neal, what I'll do, excuse me, Mr. Taylor, I'll put you, when we're finished, I'll put you in a breakout room with Ms. Martinez and y'all can discuss the best way for you to get your drug test.
Okay, thank you.
I'll put your lawyer in there with you too.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that.
I have no further questions. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Gutierrez, any questions?
No, Your Honor. Pass the witness.
Mr. Jackson.
No questions.
Mr. Ingram.
No questions.
All right, then, Mr. Jackson, do you have any witnesses?
Yes, sir. I called Richard Freeman briefly.
Okay.
Okay, and Mr. Freeman, you recently graduated Centacor on the 13th of March, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. When did you go into that program?
I let's see. Can't really remember. I went to the pavilion before I went into Centacor, and just so like they could help me get a bed at Centacor and stuff like that. So I can't really remember when exactly they sent me over there.
That's fine. Would it be a fair statement? Would this program last about 30 days?
Yes, sir.
And Mr. Freeman, did you ever have to submit to hair follicle drug testing while you were in Centacor?
No, sir.
Okay. Well, you realize it's been a little over 90 days since you've had a hair follicle drug test. You understand that?
Yes, sir.
And the department is asking for you to be tested today. I think I heard you chime in earlier and said that you just cut your hair when?
Just like a few days ago. So.
All right.
Pretty short.
You'll submit for the drug testing. You don't have a problem with that, correct?
I have no problem with it at all.
Okay. I'll pass the witness.
Ms. Gutierrez?
No questions, Your Honor.
Mr. Taylor?
No questions, Your Honor.
Mr. Ingram?
No questions.
All right. All right, then. If no one has further witnesses, then Mr. Ingram, recommendations?
Continue department as temporary managing conservator, continue placement as the children are doing well in placement.
All right, thank you. All right, then I will continue department as temporary managing conservator, continue the current placements. I will order the services for each parent as contained in their service plans. I will order both parents to hair and UA by 4 p.m. today. Again, I'll put Ms. Neal in a breakout room to discuss that test since she's in Oklahoma. And I will order Mr. Freeman to complete the Life Skills Learning Express class as testified to. Our next hearing, the initial permanency hearing, will be on July 15th, 2024. That will be by Zoom like today's hearing, so parties and attorneys can go on the court's online docket a day or two in advance to see what time we'll actually have that hearing on July 15th. Okay, Ms. Neal, Mr. Freeman, I need to admonish you today that the services contained in your service plan become a court order today. At a final hearing, if you have not worked those services, your parental rights could be altered or terminated. Do you both understand that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you all. All right, that